There's a silent force that keeps most people in high ticket sales broke. See, my first few months in high ticket sales, I was stuck around 6, 8K a month. So in order to boost my income, I, like many people, tried to fix everything externally. New scripts, new word tracks, listening to more calls. But then I realized something. I realized that sometimes it's not always about fixing the outside. It's about fixing the inside, what's going on in here. Because the truth is, it wasn't that I didn't know what to say, it's that deep down on a subconscious level, I was scared to say it. Scared to ask for the sale, scared to push, scared of the rejection. But once I identified this fear, I was able to flip a switch, and that's when everything changed. That's when my income skyrocketed to 20K a month and beyond. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to flip that same switch. How to conquer your fear and therefore unlock entirely new levels of income. We're going to go through what fear actually is, how to identify where it's showing up in your life, and most importantly, a practical exercise that you can use to conquer fear and finally step into the closer and the man that you're meant to be. Let's go. Fear is one of the most powerful emotions that a human can experience, and what it ultimately is. Fear is an instinctive survival mechanism. It's designed to protect you from danger, and that, of course, is not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Because fear it's technically here to help us, but the thing is that in today's world, fear rarely protects you, right? For most of us, we grow up in a world where we're not in immediate danger every single day. We don't have, predators lurking. We don't wake up with, immense threats to our survival. So in today's world, fear doesn't actually really protect you that much in most scenarios. Instead, it controls, it limits, and it absolutely kills your dreams and kills your success before they even have a chance to begin. Now, it's very, very important that we distinguish between two main types of fear, okay? And fear, the first fear that we're going to talk about is real fear. And you can also call this survival fear. Now, this is the type of fear that we do actually want this. We do want this survival fear. Because this fear, it does help us. And this is the type of fear that is built into us. It's built into our brains as humans, and it's designed to protect us and ensure our survival. Again, we want this fear. So some examples of real fear include, if for example, a dangerous animal like a snake, a poisonous spider, a big old tiger walked into the room, we would feel that real fear. And again, that's a good thing. Or maybe, we're asleep in our house and in the middle of the night we hear a boom, like a loud bang in our house. Then real fear would kick in, okay? And if these things were to happen, like a dangerous animal walking in, a loud bang in the night, we actually want this fear to kick in. Because in these scenarios, fear kicks in and there's a part of our brain called the amygdala, which is the part of our brain that's responsible for fear, that becomes activated. And then what happens is, our senses get heightened and our brain starts making a plan for how to escape the danger so that we can survive. Again, this is a good type of fear. We want this. Any of you that have ever been in, real survival threat scenarios will know that your senses get very heightened, like the time kind of slows down, okay? And your brain starts making a plan for how to escape the danger. Again, we want this fear. It's good. But the second fear that we're going to talk about, imaginary fear, what you can also call mental fear. And this fear, guys, let me tell you, this fear is the silent killer of dreams. It's the silent killer of success. Okay, we do not want this type of fear. This type of fear is irrational, and a key point here, this type of fear only exists in our mind. Okay, it only exists in our thoughts, in our imagination. And what it does is it often manifests as us thinking about a past, or in most scenarios, this type of fear manifests in us thinking about a future scenario, something that could happen. So I want you to, guys, really think about this. If you're fearing or you're worrying about something that may happen in the future, you are actually fearing something which is not real, okay? It's not real. In the other scenario that we talked about, real fear, when, you hear a loud bang in the night, or there's a dangerous animal that walks in, that's real. That's something that's happening in your, in the external world. It's real. But this second type of fear, imaginary fear, mental fear, it's not real. It's just, it only exists in your mind. It exists in your mind as a possible future scenario that may or may not happen, okay? So unlike the above scenario where there is a legitimate present threat to our survival, this type of fear is about a completely fictitious, fake scenario. It's not happening right now and it's not real, okay? And something where there's no immediate threat to our survival, okay? We could be, in our bed at night trying to get to sleep, but we're having these thoughts about, the future scenarios, what might happen. And when you really think about it, we're on our beds, we've got cozy blankets, we're warm, everything should be perfect. But instead, our brain is full of fear. And again, it's just imaginary. It's not real. This type of fear is nothing more than an illusion of danger. And the key word here is illusion. It's not real. But the good news is that imaginary fear can be rewired and eliminated. We can eliminate it through awareness and action, because a key point here is that the people who win at life are not necessarily fearless. They're not. The people that succeed and overcome their fears, it's not that they just get rid of the fear, it's that they act despite the fear. Okay? Now, it's very important that we go through 5 of the most common types of imaginary fear. There are more types of imaginary fear, but this, in my opinion, is the 5 most important and the 5 most common. So the first one is the fear of failure. So worrying about what will happen if things don't go as planned. Thinking, what if I try and if I fail? And feeling like, failure will define you or make you look incompetent is what the fear can be in your head. The second one, this is an absolutely big one. I see so many men, unfortunately, that really struggle with this fear. And it's the fear of judgment, the fear of what other people think. Okay, so worrying about how other people will perceive you if you take a certain action. Thinking, well, what if people will laugh at me? What if people will criticize me or think that I'm stupid? It's ultimately the fear of standing out, or the fear of being different, the fear of how other people are perceiving you. Thirdly, the fear of rejection. This is a big one that we need to overcome in sales. Okay, the fear of rejection, the fear that somebody will say no to you. So worrying about being turned down in sales, being worried about being turned down in a relationship or a social situation, thinking, what if they don't like me, or what if they don't want what I'm offering them? Okay, very key, important one to overcome in sales. Fourthly, this might sound strange, but the fear of success. Many people actually fear achieving success, if not on a subconscious level. And again, reality is a mirror. So if you subconsciously fear success, then what happens? Reality reflects that back to you and you don't achieve it. Because your brain is trying to keep you alive. It's a survival mechanism in your brain. So if you subconsciously think that success, or your brain thinks that success could threaten your survival, guess what? It's going to align your thinking, behaviors, and actions to not bring you success. So worrying that success will bring some kind of responsibility, some kind of pressure, or ultimately success bringing some kind of change. And again, a lot of this is happening on a subconscious level. So your brain feels subconsciously that if you have success, it's a threat to your survival because of some kind of change. Lastly, fifth and finally, the fear of the unknown. So feeling fear and anxious thoughts about taking risks or stepping into new situations. Thinking, well, what if I don't know what to do? What if I make a mistake? What will happen if I do X? And the fear of the unknown can actually often lead to procrastination and playing it safe. Okay, playing it safe. This is a big reason why so many people out there that actually have tremendous potential don't get to ever realize their true potential and the life that they could have, because they play it safe. And it's ultimately because, if not on a subconscious level, they have this massive fear of the unknown, and therefore they don't realize their true potential, which is a massive shame. So all of these, if taken too seriously, it will inhibit your thinking, it will inhibit your actions, and therefore inhibit your results. Now, many people, sales reps included, closers included, they are absolutely riddled with fear, which ultimately stops them from achieving the income, the freedom, the lifestyle, and even the relationships that they want. This video is going to ensure that you are not one of those people, that you are free from the shackles, from the chains of fear, and therefore you can achieve the results, the income, the freedom, and the lifestyle that you deserve. So let's get into it. How to overcome imaginary fear. Again, there's 2 types of fear: real fear, imaginary fear. Real fear is fine. We want that. It keeps us alive, keeps us protected. But imaginary fear, we want to eliminate that. Now that we understand what fear is and how imaginary fear limits your success, the next step is overcoming it so that it no longer limits and or controls your life. Because here's a key point. Fear only has power when we listen to it and when we obey it. Okay, remember, the people that are really successful, it's not necessarily that they don't feel fear, that they don't feel, for example, fear of the unknown. It's that they take action despite it. Okay, so once we become aware of it, we can challenge it and take action despite this fear. When we can do that, we break free. We break free from the chains of fear, okay? So here's some practical exercises. I want you guys to review the below list of the 5 most common types of imaginary fear. Again, we've got fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of success, and fear of the unknown. I want you guys to sit for a few minutes, pause this video if you need to, and really just think about this list, right? Think about this list. Think about yourself. Think about your life. And I want you to be really, really honest with yourself here, because this is where you'll get the most value out of this exercise, when you can really be honest with yourself. Which, out of this list, which one or maybe 2 of these fears do you feel like you struggle with the most? Again, when you really think about your life, think about your past, your experiences, what one of these do you struggle with the most? And I want you just to keep a mental note of that as we go through the below exercises. So the first practical exercise is what's called future self visualization. So stepping into the fearless version of yourself. And the purpose here is to essentially condition the mind to associate confidence and success with what was previously a fear-inducing situation. And here's how you do it. You've got to first off close your eyes and imagine yourself 6 months from now having completely overcome your biggest imaginary fear. So for example, if you previously had a massive fear of judgment, I want you to just visualize in your mind and really just make it as real as possible, you completely overcoming that fear and having no fear of judgment whatsoever. See yourself as that, confident, calm, and in control, handling situations that maybe used to invoke fear. What does that version of you look like? How specifically, how do they move? How do they speak? How do they behave? How would life be different if you didn't have that fear of judgment? What actions would you have taken? Maybe in the past, because of your fear of judgment, there were certain things that you didn't do. How would life be different if you never had that fear? So now imagine looking through their eyes. Look through the eyes of that person that just has no fear of judgment whatsoever. Okay, fully embodying that version of you who's already conquered fear. I want you guys to feel the certainty, feel the power and the confidence in your body, and then open your eyes and absolutely carry that energy into the real world. Okay, act as if, because remember, your subconscious mind is programmed via repetition. Okay, if you just act as if you really get a clear mental picture of that version of yourself that has none of that fear that you previously struggled with, and then you go out into the world and you act as if you are already that man, what will happen is, yes, at first you will consciously have to work on it and consciously have to remember to act as that man, but eventually through subconscious repetition, this will become your new normal. And then you won't have to consciously think about it whatsoever. Okay. Now, guys, I've got some more practical exercises here, but I'm not going to go through them all. They're all written down on the document. Okay. So just go through these. Make sure that you do them, especially this one here, the visualization. Remember, our subconscious mind gets programmed through repetition, okay? Really, really key. So just a very quick video today here, guys, on fear, okay? Really have a think about what fears you struggle with the most. Maybe it's the fear of judgment. Maybe it's the fear of rejection. Really think about how your life would be different if you never had that fear. Maybe you would have taken a different set of actions. Maybe you would have got a different, better set of results, okay? Really get a clear picture of yourself, that version of yourself that has, for example, no fear of judgment. Really get a clear mental picture of that. Really visualize it every single day and then go out into the world and act as if you are already that man that has none of that fear. Okay, and then through repetition, your subconscious mind will get programmed and you will just automatically become that person. So again, guys, a fairly quick one here today, and then I'll see you in the next video.